Ochihene clashes with NDC executives in the Eastern region who tag his recent visit to the Flagstaff House as politically sponsored. He wants a withdrawal and an unqualified apology.
Definitely. If he gets to understand that, then he will know clearly that he completely misfired on the issues at stake. And for that matter, he will have to withdraw those comments coming from him against Ochihene.
But will he get the apology he demands? We will find out.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion. Belacra Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water. It's also brought to you by Lifebuoy, still 100% better germ protection, and also by Blue Rose Limited, shelter for all. A clash between politics and chieftaincy is causing a stir in the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs. NDC executives in the region have, in a joint statement, labeled the Ochihene's recent visit to the Flagstaff House as politically sponsored. They accuse him of doing the bidding of the New Patriotic Party. The Ochihene Osagyefo Amoatiafo is unhappy with the statement, and he is demanding an unqualified apology from the NDC executives in the region. At the meeting at the Flagstaff House, the Ochihene challenged the president to call his supporters to order when they use disparaging remarks against their opponents. The NDC executives insist the comments are, quote, hypocritical. Well, the Ochihene is fighting back. He is demanding a withdrawal of the statement and an unqualified apology. We will shortly hear from his lawyer, but first, what exactly did he say when he met the president? Listen.
There is a case at the Supreme Court. We, all of us, have to be committed that whatever the justices arrive at, all parties, all citizens in our country will accept the decision in good faith. Because the country we grew up in, Mr. President, had different threads and different backgrounds woven into a big solid quilt called Ghana. We've had that because of stability and peace and unity. The Dankwa's Ghana, the Nkrumah's Ghana, the Agra's Ghana didn't know differences in ethnicity. Politics should not divide us, should bring us together. Whatever anybody has, different ideas, different methods, there is a common denominator. And all of us must be committed to love that five-letter word that has been our name, Ghana, forever. We ask that all of us tell our supporters to control some of the utterances in public. We were brought up in a family that taught us how to respect authority and the elderly. We have not forgotten about those values just because we are modern. We need to hold on to that values that brought us together as Ghana. And I know that the president will lead in that fight.
And I'm joined on the line right now by Kwame Champon Boateng, who's lawyer for the Ochihene, Osagyefo Amoatiafo. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. We will also be joined by the Deputy Secretary of the NDC in the Eastern region, who will also join us for his perspective on this. What exactly did they say? Thank you, sir, first, Mr. Boateng, for your time. Now, the party statement claims that our visit to the Flagstaff House was politically sponsored. True? Okay, I'm just told that the line just dropped there. We'll get him back on the line and put those questions to him. We'll also be speaking to the, as I indicated, the Deputy Regional Secretary of the party. He was a joint signatory to that statement that indeed criticized Ochihene for his posture at the Flagstaff House when he met the president. Indeed, one of the things that the Ochihene also said at that particular meeting was that he would have wished that the president consulted the Regional House of Chiefs in appointing the regional minister. He also, as you also heard, also basically said that it would be good for all politicians to commit to respecting the judgment of the Supreme Court in a matter in which the flag bearer of the NPP and 2 others are challenging the election results. I'm talking about the 2012 election results. What I'm told that, thankfully, I've been joined again on the line by Kwame Champon Boateng, who's a lawyer for the Ochehene. Thank you, sir, for your time. I was asking earlier, in that statement from the NDC regional executives, they claim that your visit to the Flagstaff House, Ochehene's visit to the Flagstaff House, on behalf of the regional House of Chiefs, was politically sponsored. True?
Well, my brother, I think that was a very unfortunate statement, and these are some of the statements that have the potential to expose Ochehene to some hatred. First and foremost, what we want everybody to understand is that we just didn't get up and go there. We were invited as a group, and Ochehene went there in his capacity as the president of the regional House of Chiefs, and in the company of the chiefs. So whatever utterances that were made, they were made in his capacity as the regional head of.
Clarify something for me briefly. You say the chiefs did not go to the Flagstaff House on their own volition. They were actually invited by who?
By government, of course.
That is interesting, because I'm saying it's interesting because 2 days ago when I spoke to the vice president of the House of Chiefs, my first question to him was, did you go there on your own volition? He said yes.
Now, what I want us to understand is that, listen, of course, we just don't get up and go to the presidency to pay courtesy calls or something of that nature. Now, the trend has been that almost every region wanted to come and congratulate. So it is for the presidency to invite you that you can come. This region can come. So when it got to our turn, we were formally invited to come, and we went there. So we went there on the invitation of government, and our representation there was the representation of the whole of the Eastern Region House of Chiefs, and not Ochehene alone. First.
So I'm asking then, how do you reconcile that with the response I got from the vice president of the House of Chiefs, who said they had gone there not based on any invitation, but on their own volition?
It is just not possible to do that. Whatever it is, whether by invitation or whatever, definitely you need clearance by way of saying, yes, you can come. That is, even if you decide to go there, it is not everybody who gets the chance to go there. So definitely there should be some clearance by way of some directives from the presidency that you can come and see the president. And it was on that premises that we went to the castle. Sorry, the Flagstaff House.
Was there any political backroom hand-wringing when the Ochehene was leading the regional House of Chiefs to go there to put those issues before the president, as the party in the Eastern region is claiming?
Now, let's look at the statement that was made by the Ochehene. Now, amongst the various statements that were made is the fact that he wanted political insults to cease on both sides, and that he wants both sides to respect the verdict that comes from the Supreme Court. What is political motivation or ulterior motive about these statements? And these were clearly, if any chief or if any person, whoever that person is, gets to the presidency to talk about matters concerning Ghana in this present time and refuses or decides not to mention the court case, which has generally polarized the country, then that person may be acting hypocritically. So the fact of the matter is that these are matters of currency, and definitely the Ochehene, together with the other chiefs, thought it was crucial that we bring it up for all of us to discuss, and in a very cordial atmosphere and with a very excellent response from the president. He asked that both sides be guided and accept the outcome. I don't see where political motivation comes in here at all, under whatever circumstances.
Kindly stay on the line for me, Mr. Boateng, because I've been joined by one of the signatories to that statement that was issued from the regional NDC. That's Matthew Doe. He's the Deputy Secretary there in the Eastern Region for the party. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. Now, you claim in that statement that that visit was politically sponsored. You have the evidence to back that.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Doe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
Great.
my brother.
Great. So how do you back the statements you made? you made in that
Yeah.
statement. What is the defense? What evidence do you have to support those claims you made in that statement?
Yeah, thanks a lot, my brother, and good evening to all our listeners. We took exception to certain sections of the statement that the Ochehini made during his visit to the presidency at the Flagstaff House. We looked at the language in which the statement was couched and then its connotations. When you study the circumstances and the context carefully, one can see that it has its own political lining.
Why do you say so? Why do you say so? Hold on, Mr. Doe. Hold on briefly, Mr. Doe. Let's look at what Ochehini said. Three things stand out. One, he says all politicians must accept the outcome of the Supreme Court decision, whatever it is. Secondly, he says all politicians again must call their supporters to order if they make disparaging statements. That's to paraphrase. Thirdly, he says the House of Chiefs are quite not happy that, you know, the appointment of the regional minister was made without consultation, without consulting them, that in the future they will love that the president consults them when he's making an appointment like that. What is political about that?
Yeah, we see it as something that has a political connotation, because if you look at the situation, there are two contending parties to the issues that we are discussing, vis-a-vis the case that is pending at the Supreme Court. We haven't heard the Ochehini at any time make a statement to the effect where the other contending party has also been called to order, or a piece of advice given out to him that at this point, you are even my son. He comes from Kivi, and he's rightly, that is his home. So they say charity begins at home. So we're expecting that the same piece of advice that he was giving to the presidency should have gone to his son, even to his son first, because we all know the events that preceded.
And his son, we know the
events that preceded the last parliamentary and presidential elections. We don't want to recall some of these incidents that happened at Kibi, and we're expecting that probably this should have been the forum for him to draw attention and allude to some of these, and probably ensure or give the promise that some of these things will have the recurrence. We don't want to go into the solid details, but we want to state that it was an opportunity for him. But instead of that, we haven't heard him talk to the other side, the contending the other side in the issue. But all that we heard was that he was talking to the president and the presidency that he should, or everybody should accept the verdict of the Supreme Court. We think that, in fact, we took exception to that particular statement because it looks like if partially he might have, I don't know, he might have looked at the issue and think that it has its own negative connotations, and that traditionally, if someone makes that statement, it means that the issue of guilt has been visited on one of the contending parties, but that is not the issue.
Mr. Doe, pause for a minute for me. Mr. Boateng, you want to respond to that?
Yes, I'm not too sure whether Mr. Doe and his group actually listened to the proceedings that went on at the presidency. Now, if you listen to the statement of Ochehini very clearly, he never isolated any party. All he said was that he's expecting, he wants to place the presidency, that both sides will abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. That is all. And I've always mentioned this. Listen, at any point in time when the children have had the opportunity, he's talked about political violence against it. He's talked about politics of insult and all the other negativities that associate our politics. So it is never ever correct under any circumstances, unless it's by the figment of their own imagination that he has refused to address certain concerns that happened in the Eastern region and is hanking on what happened somewhere, or now he's just calling on the president alone to abide by the decision. That is not so.
And Mr. Boateng, you are Ochehini's lawyer. You want a withdrawal and an apology.
Precisely. You see, these are inflammatory statements, and it has the potential to expose the Ochehini to some hatred by a group or a section of persons. Because you know this particular case has polarized the country to an extent that if somebody insinuates one way or the other that the Ochehini backs one group, then you realize that there's a potential for the other group to rise against him one way or the other. So please, there's no basis whatsoever for that statement, and I think they should withdraw that statement because it has no legs at all to stand on.
Mr. Doe, are you willing to withdraw and apologize to the Ochehini?
You know, when someone expresses concern about an issue, when a statement has been made and someone expresses his or her concern, when someone expresses his sentiments, their emotions, very objective and personal to the individual. We have taken exception to the statement that he has made because we think that it's been politically couched. The undertones are very political. The sentiment he has expressed are political. And we took exception also because the events preceding this election.
But Mr. Doe, subsequent to that formal statement, your regional organizer and others have gone on radio to call your Ochehene hypocritical, among other names. He says he wants an apology and he wants a withdrawal. Are you going to grant him that?
Is it withdrawal of our concern? Because about the issue of the consent, that is how we see, that is how we look at it. And we are also aggrieved in that line.
Give me. I'm just running out of time. Give me a yes or no answer to this.
And I don't know.
Give me a yes or no answer to this. I don't
know what exactly we are to withdraw.
Okay. Give me a yes or no answer to this. Are you withdrawing or not?
Hello.
Are you withdrawing and apologizing or not?
Withdrawing what? What are we to withdraw? If we know what we are to withdraw, is it our letter expressing our consent, which expresses our sentiments and emotions about statement he has made, or is it about the aftermath of the discussions and responses on radio, which has gone on almost the whole day? We want to know what exactly we are withdrawing
Mr. Boateng,
and apologizing for.
Mr. Boateng, quickly.
Yes, I believe this is a matter that should be taken by the party hierarchy, the top party hierarchy, because these are matters that I believe should be condemned. Where there are no factual basis for the concerns that they are raising, then it should be condemned. I believe these are matters that we shouldn't joke with, especially concerning the Ochehene. You know his stature in
obvious.
In
it's
Ghana,
obvious.
And we shouldn't joke with it.
It's pretty obvious from what we're hearing from Mr. Doe that you're not going to get that apology and withdrawal you want. What else you want to do with that? And
now, we are throwing it to the party hierarchy, the top brass in ND, to call them to order. But what they are doing, I believe, it's not helping the nation at all, especially in this part of our political period.
Is it something you want to formally write to the party hierarchy, or something that you probably want to put it out in the statement form?
Well, we will advise ourselves on it.
Okay.
As and when it becomes necessary.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time here on Top Story. That's Kwame Champon Boateng. He's lawyer for the Ochehene, Osagyefo Amoateng for repairing. Also, you've been listening to the Deputy Secretary of the NDC in the Eastern Region, Mr. Matthew Doe. I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen. But you want to stay with us on Newsnight in 15 minutes on radio. We have insight into what is happening in the Ashanti region and across the country, because government intends to roll out the capitation policy as far as the health insurance is concerned across the country. But there's stiff opposition coming from across the country and from managers of health facilities. We'll tell you what their concerns are exactly and bring you government response to that. You want to join us in 15 minutes on radio on Newsnight. My name is Evans Mensah. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, Belacra Mineral Water, also brought to you by Lifebuoy and Blue Rose Limited.